Hey, Ben, welcome and really excited to chat. We're going to talk about being a first PM at a company. I know you've been a product manager multiple times. You've been a first PM, I think, a couple of times. Can you give me a little bit of context around when you were first PM?
Yeah, and thanks for having me, Pulkit. I'm excited to chat. I was the first PM at a few different companies, three specific. One was a company called Breeze, which is a Series A company that ended up getting acquired by Ford. The second one was a company called Abstract, which was a B2B SaaS product that was kind of like GitHub for sketch files before Figma ate the design sketch marks. And then the third one was most recently as the head of product and design at a company called Continuum, which is a marketplace for venture-backed executives.
Okay. And you've also been not a first PM a couple of times, right?
Yeah, I was also product manager at Facebook as like the 2000th product manager or something there. And then also at Attentive, which when I joined, it was a Series E company with about 25 PMs.
Wow. Okay. So you've got a ton of experience across the board. So are you able to distill a little bit around the main differences as you see them between being this kind of first PM role and then being a PM in a more structured later stage organization?
Yeah, there's a ton of context and nuance that goes into each of these roles. So I think I'm careful with generalizations, but I would say at the Series A stage, when you join as a first PM, you're really laying a lot of foundation for just the right way to have product design, engineering, kind of like work together with go-to-market, like the basic muscles of what to do, when to do it, and then executing really well on it, making sure that you put things in people's hands and run really tight feedback cycles. So it's all about speed, iteration time. It's not uncommon that kind of environment where you ship tons of things a year in that kind of like high velocity environment. I would say in really big settings like at Facebook, I still ship like a dozens of things a year, but really one or two might move the needle. And those are where you put all of the wood behind the arrow. So I think like really calling your in a place like Facebook and, moving a specific metric that, carries a lot of weight with leadership. Like we did in my team, we moved revenue with one of our projects. The other 20 things my team shipped while I was there to move the needle at all, but that one thing brought like $300 million of incremental revenue for Facebook. There's a lot of weight. So I think getting much better at like opportunity sizing and impact is probably a much higher premium in that kind of environment. And Attentive would probably middle between these two extremes.
Interesting. Okay. So one thing I'm gleaning is like you have to, as an early stage PM, you have to focus on the process and really help your organization organize around how product should function and work with GTN, but of like the more of the internal setup that you have to also focus on. It's really about, like you said, opportunity assessment, getting good data, analyzing, and also, convincing or making a case to get the resources to work on something.
Yeah, the thing that's in common to both of these is you're still distilling like the decision-making muscle of the organizational layer of product management. But the key difference is how much support structures exist around you and how mature like the ecosystem is around you. Some of the decision-making muscle has a lot of kind of like crutches, like supporting muscles around them to make sure that they're kind of like not going to go too far off in the wrong direction. But in an early stage startup, you're these decisions and you're zigzag the founder left and right all the time and trying to kind of like find your way towards not just product market fit, but something that sticks and can scale. And I think that these muscles are with the support systems that exist around you.
Yeah, touching on two topics I want to discuss a little bit. One is that, at the later stage, you have access to a bunch of data to make these decisions. At this stage, you definitely won't have access to that same level of data. So, what does it look like, the data-driven or active decisions?
Yeah. So early stage, I'll kind of contrast this first with like what you have at Facebook. So at Facebook, you have like a dedicated data scientist or two sometimes on your team. And these are really like high caliber strategic people that can look at vast sets of data and actually help you figure out what you should build and where the impact could be had. And they're the ones that can even tell you whether this project could be measured if you do execute on this project and what couldn't. And then they're coordinating with all the other data scientists in Facebook, come up with common currency for how to evaluate impact, right? So that's like a very well-established, very mature function of using data. And as a PM there, you just have to partner really well with those people and have intelligent conversations about what's available and what's possible. At the early stages, you don't have that. At best, you might have a data analyst or someone that can run some SQL queries on your behalf if you want, or if you're a SQL query writing, you could do that yourself. At the end of the day, the signals you're going to get are mostly about like what's happening, like what is. So here's like how someone's using this feature. Here's how many people have come to this page, or here's how our funnel's looking. And they're more kind of like ways to orient yourself around what's happening. And I do think there should always be some basic level of kind of like a funnel, if nothing else, for just figuring out how people are coming into your product and how many of them are sticking around and trying it and getting some kind of value out of it. But then I think the thing that is even more valuable at the super early stage from a data perspective talking to people, understand why people are getting confused. If you have a funnel and you have only like, from one step to the next, and you would have guessed that you should have like 50% conversion. Like, why are you like 80% off relatively soon between that 50% and that 10%, right? Like it's a massive drop, and being able to like identify the people that dropped off, reach out to them, get on a call, or even ask them for an email feedback about why they dropped off. It's the kind of data that I think is extremely valuable as an early stage PM, and getting very good at synthesizing that and bringing it back to the teams, and specifically bringing it back to the founder and giving them these like little golden nuggets on a silver platter of insights that they should make sense of and chew on together, I think is a very high value thing to do.
I always tell really early stage teams that you probably don't need to build scaled onboarding yet. Really focus on concierge. You want to scale as many people as possible. Things like microsurvey, session replay, where you can watch people, things is really, really valuable versus like trying to digest everything from the quant data. You talk about zigzagging with the founder, bringing this kind of distilled insight to the founder. I know that, there can be founder conflict, a difficult role to define. The founder may not give away their Legos. Like, how have you navigated that? What have you found to be effective in dividing responsibilities?
I think the most important thing starts before you work together. It's in the interview process. It's in the getting to know us, where you just really need to understand, like, are you hiring a PM? Like, what do you feel like you need help with? What do you want to keep owning? What do you want to delegate? What would success look like if you hired the right person? Right. There's a bunch of questions you could ask. Also, I just want to plug the Super Insider podcast I wrote with Mark from Super. We did a whole episode, the first episode of the whole pod, just about evaluating the opportunity to join a day or seed stage first PM. So if people want to go, there's a 45-minute conversation just about this. But I would say once you're in the room, I really do not think it's the job of the first PM to tell the founder what they should do. I think it's the other way around. The two of them need to together figure out how to set up the founder to do what's most impactful and take everything else off their plate. So me, for example, in the first PM environments that I've been, there has been some, let's say, urgency to move faster in a certain way, right? So like, there's a sense that like, we're not moving as fast as we should. There's things that we want to work on that we're not getting to. And I need someone to like accelerate, right? Like I just need an accelerator, like a catalyst that helps faster in the right direction with the rigor. So without compromising that rigor. And then I need to make sure that everyone is like on the same page, right? And that could be a full-time job just for a first, early stage PM. And I'd say a lot of founders are not like the best at that, but by definition, founders are storytellers, they're motivators, they're charismatic, they're always out selling. And I think that there's they're not often the most detail-oriented people, and the truth is like engineers need details and designers need details, and like go-to-market people need details. So like being the person that can kind of like build that thought partnership and the shared brain with the founder, I think is probably what I see as the recipe for success between the first PM and the founder. I think if you're butting heads all the time, that is probably a red flag about the relationship and something that I would not view as healthy.
So basically try to get a shared understanding of where you want to go, and then help founder translate that into more specific and detail-oriented tasks or ways of working with the other functions to help accelerate.
Create those shared language kind of artifacts that everyone can kind of look at together and say, yes, this is what we're going to invest for the next 2 weeks. Anything as basic as that is often missing in very early stage companies that hire their first PM. And then you kind of build from there.
What does that look like? Is that like a basically a Google Doc with laying out priorities or discussion around vision? Like what is that specifically?
There's not one size fits all. And I think that it's really important to meet the team where it is. So sometimes the team has something like this, just like very bad at adhering to or updating. And they feel like it's just like a useless artifact. So I would start by debugging. What is it about your current process of like measuring this stuff that's not as effective and actionable as you'd like it to be? And then other times you'll come into an environment and there's just like a bunch of ideas floating around, and no one seems like to know whose job it is to actually put together, which is the list, and then how to facilitate the conversation about like, okay, how are we going to like prioritize what to do first, second, third, et cetera. And I think that part of what I bring to the table and what I tell other product people to do when they go into these environments, working directly with founders in this very early stages, your job is to not tell them what they should do. Your job is to like have an opinion about what you think makes sense given all the context you have, but to give them many options and say like, here's my recommendation based on everything I'm saying. If there's something you're thinking about that I'm not thinking about, tell me. I'll chew on that. And then like, we'll revisit this decision after I've had a chance to process. And then once you come to a point where the founder and the product leader are both like, on the same exact page about why you want to do what you want to do next, then it's just a function of packaging that and communicating it to people. And it's kind of like teaming.
Yeah, I like that, which is, alongside presenting a menu, you present a recommendation. I think as a founder, that's super helpful because you really want opinions from everyone. It's not intelligent data-based or logical opinions, so advice. Okay, we've got like a minute left. So let's get to a couple of questions I'll ask everyone. What are your go-to resources for learning?
Just other people. Like I love other people. I've been learning a ton from doing the Supra Insider podcast, actually through the Supra peer sessions and that community. I think they've been valuable. And then other people who know a bunch of stuff I don't. I think I'm really humble in that sense. I'm dumb about things that there's a lot smarter people about.
And then finally, what's that you use regularly and love, and maybe why?
Yeah, I really like Loom as a product. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would probably say that, but I've saved like countless hours of meetings and like back and forth with people by just like capturing something really tight, like a 2 or 3 minute Loom and sending it. And yeah, I have a format for sharing information.